Okay, so the Patriots should be 2-0. You know this. I know this. I've spent over 12 hours today poring over the film, taking the notes. You know the deal. We got EPAs, we got CPOEs, we got success rates, we've got everything and more that you could possibly want. And yet I sit here and go, the Patriots have two big problems on their hand. Number one, you can tell me this, it's pass protection. For a second straight week, Jacoby Brissett was under fire like this dude was dropped into a trench in pick either of your favorite world wars, right? He faced pressure on more than 40% of his dropbacks. Basically the same percentage he saw in Cincinnati. And in the last 9 days, the Patriots have not only lost one left tackle to injury, but another to irony because Chukwuma Okorafor, that left tackle, literally left. So number two is a little bit more fixable. And this is something that I wrestled with a little bit after the game. I wrote, hey, the Patriots got outcoached. And not in a way that was like, oh my God, Gerard Mayo got pantsed by Mike McDonald running circles around him, giggling like he's in middle school. It's just to say the small edges that were there that the Patriots needed, obviously, late fourth quarter lead, trying to get better field position and put the game away and score, just couldn't do it. And when I dove deeper, I found some more problems. So problem number two is the play callers, we'll just call them green. Okay, you get a grace period when you're Alex Van Pelt and you have not called plays since, this is my favorite trick, the Obama administration. But Obama 2009, since I was, sorry, folks out there, in high school, okay? You get a grace period if you're DeMarcus Covington, who was just out of high school, guy's 35, first year calling plays. But when I looked at this game, the Seahawks outfoxed both of them. Now, you could say, hey, Mike McDonald's a really good coach. We talked about this with Bill Barnwell. Did that live up to that or what? In a way, of course, I know you didn't want to come true. But Alex Van Pelt, first three drives of the game, he's cooking. He's got a touchdown. He's got a field goal. The Patriots have a 56.5% success rate. Very good. 2 thumbs up, Borat style. The next 4 drives, though, that gets cut in half, okay? Actually, by more than half. It goes down to 23.5%. So the Patriots are stubbing their toe, bashing their head against the wall until the fourth quarter. He makes an adjustment. It was just a little too conservative. By now, you've heard the receivers had 3 catches. When you look at DeMarcus Covington, I thought they had a cool game plan. This was right out of the gates like, hey, what you got? You spin the dial, Mike McDonald? Look at the straddle I just picked up and watch it go. They had simulated pressures. You had overload pressures from cover 2. You were spinning into zone blitzes, all this different stuff. And Geno Smith said, okay, that's cool that you can do all this to Marcus Covington. I'm just going to throw to DK Metcalf. And that's how it went. The Patriots by no means made Seattle play left-handed. And in fact, Seattle waited them out. And you see this in numbers, and I'm just going to give you off the top, and then we're going to get to the rundown. Seattle knew at some point Covington and the Patriots were going to go into their bag, and they're going to pull out an all-out blitz, right? This is what they do. They told me, guys in the locker room, hey, we're going to be more aggressive. And so that means blitzing. And they've got a couple different variations, right? Just the all-out blitz, man-to-man. You've got the sit at the sticks, look at the quarterback, breaking anything that's short, which is what happened to DK Metcalf's touchdown. And whatever variation it was, Geno Smith went 10 of 12 for 171 yards and a touchdown plus a sack in a scramble versus the blitz. Oh, and it gets worse. There was 1 drop in those incompletions. And number 2, on DK Metcalf's touchdown, Bill Belichick came back to haunt his old defense because the blocking scheme that Seattle used, he may or may not have invented. And if it wasn't him, it was someone on the Patriots staff back in 2005. Now, we've gone fully into the weeds. Let's zoom out. We're going to talk about the offense. We're going to talk about the defense. We don't have game balls to hand out today because they lost. So we're going to do, we need to talk. What would NFL film say? And then mailbag and then get out of here. But before we do all of that, even though the Patriots lost on Sunday, you know you can still win with Prize Picks. Here's how. We talk a lot about Drake May in this podcast, right? Rookie quarterback, top 3 pick. There's another rookie quarterback picked in the top 3, Caleb Williams, who can win you money on Prize Picks. Because if you put him in your stat projections going more or less, and he gets more than half a passing yard, boom, check. That's a win. Prize Picks, in case you missed it, is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app where it's literally just that. You against the numbers they provide. It's the simplest, fastest way, you've heard me say this, to win money while you watch sports. Just pick 2 or more stat projections for a player. Go more or less, and that's it. Plus, if you pick the right 4 players, more or less, you can win up to 100 times your money. So do like I do during basketball season. And we just had baseball season, RIP to the Red Sox. Spice up your week a little bit, sitting on the couch. Download Prize Picks today and use code CLNS for $50 instantly when you deposit and play $5. That's code CLNS for Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks run your game. Okay, let's get to the offense right here. Number one. Yeah, it's a problem that the receivers had 3 catches for 19 yards. I was hoping at some point today, amid all the film, and I'm going to go run and do TV later, so in case I sound like I'm speaking too fast. And there was someone very kind on the YouTube comments to point out last week, hey, Callahan, I can't even put you on 0.8 because it's still too fast. And when I do lower than that, you sound like you've had too many. So please slow down. To which I said, okay, I'll stop speaking so fast. And I'm sorry. But if it happens again, now you know. Not to say, oh, look at me do TV. It's just we're in a rush. There's a lot going on. Anyway, I wanted to find the stat that said 82 or whatever receivers in the NFL had more receiving yards and catches than the Patriots' entire receiving corps did. And then I thought about it for a second. You know how close the Patriots were to winning this game despite the receivers catching 3 balls for 19 yards? It was a field goal that was blocked and then just a defensive stop somewhere in the 99 yards before the Seahawks would have to get to the end zone. Both sound perfectly reasonable to me, except we know that didn't happen. So I don't really want to play the result and start here with the offense. We just did the play calling part, and we'll dive deeper into that. Because again, Seattle adjusted, just cut the Patriots' success rate by more than half in the middle quarters. I don't really care about that. That's playing the result. The process was bad either way. But had the Patriots won, you know just as well as I do that this would have been, look at this team. They won, even though their receivers got to hang out and sip Mai Tais or Oktoberfest or whatever it is on the sideline, and they're 2-0. And they could be 3-0 this Thursday. Of course, it didn't happen. That's not how we're talking about it. Now it's a 5-alarm fire. But my point is this. You do not just get to blame Alex Van Pelt or the pass protection, which was dreadful, or even Jacoby Brissett. It goes to the receivers too. The Seahawks increased their man coverage rate late in the game. Around the second quarter, they said, okay, cool. You know what we're going to do? We're going to load the box. We're going to play man coverage. Against man coverage, the Patriots averaged 3 yards per play. Against zone coverage, it was 5.5. As the old saying goes, when it comes to receivers, coaches get them open against zone. But when it's man-to-man, it's up to you. So to me, when I watched this film, Demario Douglas had the only case for what the hell is going on. A case he's now taken publicly, by the way, speaking in the locker room today to our guy, Doug Kyde, among others, saying, yeah, last year I felt like I could prove myself. This year, nah, not so much. Speaking, though, of Jacoby Brissett in the passing game, I should know better than to do this after week 2 because I knew this was coming. As soon as the Patriots lose, as soon as the offense stumbles, you're going to have folks out there clamoring for Drake May. We're going to do it anyway. I'm breezing through this yellow light, okay? Because here's the deal. I know how it goes. Offense struggles, team loses. Bench the quarterback. Fire the coach. Okay, no one's firing Gerard now. So, of course, you want to start the top 3 pick for Jacoby Brissett, who only had, God, I don't know what they're in here, like 149 passing yards, right? Here's the problem with that. I have a question for you. Do you want Drake May behind an offensive line that has been blitzed all of 6 times in 2 games and allowed pressure on 45% of those dropbacks? All dropbacks. Seems hazardous to me. And you could say, oh, Drake May would escape better and he would throw long. And you know what? Yeah, he probably would throw a little bit longer. This dude is a gunslinger. We saw it in North Carolina. The good plays, the bad plays. He's going to chuck it. But through 2 weeks, would he rank 10th in QBR, which is a refined version of passer rating that actually accounts for fumbles and scrambles in game situation, unlike passer rating? Would he rank 10th in success rate, which means how well are you doing as a quarterback keeping your offense on schedule? Would he even be 15th in EPA per play? Because Jacoby Brissett right now is walking the same path Mac Jones did to his utter demise in New England, getting overloaded with pressure in weeks 1 and week 2, going to play the Jets in week 3. We all know what happened to Dallas in week 4 last year, New Orleans after that. Mac lost his mind. Okay, Jacoby Brissett is not losing his mind right now. He's keeping the whole offense together. And I get that when you watch him take 3 sacks like he did on Sunday, you think it's his fault, when in reality, he's doing an unbelievable job of taking bad situations and not making them worse, because in the 28 times he's been hit or hurried, he has been sacked just 4 times. That 14% pressure to sack rate, again, when it's bad, How quickly does it go worse? For Jacoby Brissett, it's just 14%. Is among the best in the entire league, and it would be in any kind of season. It's a freaking miracle because sacks kill drives. When pressure goes to sack, drives go in the toilet, right? And you saw this on Sunday. Every time Brissett got sacked, the Patriots punted. When he was sidestepping rushers, extending, creating plays, and finding Hunter Henry downfield, they often scored. That's it right now. And yeah, the accuracy is so-so. That's just who he is. You know what this was when you signed him, somewhere between the 20th and 30th best quarterback in the league. He's not going downfield. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the film, he doesn't have any freaking time. But what he's doing in the meantime is exactly what you hired him to do. Take the hits for Drake May until Drake May is ready. Okay? Protect the football. The Patriots have not had a turnover in back-to-back games for the first time since December 2022. And he's avoiding pressure in a way that Mac Jones could not, Bailey Zappi could not, going back to Cam Newton could not, even towards the end in those stretches. And that's not a high bar, of course. But you're seeing the fact that the Patriots are in this game at the end, the power of not screwing it up. And no one knows how Drake May would perform, right? I know you're eager to find out. I'm a Drake May believer. He's going to start at some point. It's going to look great. We saw flashes in the preseason, but there's no possible way to know what it would actually look like, his effect on the offense, because we've never seen him play in real regular season NFL games before. I know what it looks like for Jacoby Brissett, and I gave you the numbers. It's been good enough for him, given the circumstances, the offensive line, the receivers, and the fact that the Patriots are already on their third tackle, and we're not even at week 3 yet. Despite that, they could and should be 2-0. That's as much because of what the defense has done and what Jacoby Brissett has not allowed to happen to the offense. It's just a little harder to see. Okay, let's talk about Alex Van Pelt. This game plan worked. We saw it. First 3 drives. Touchdown, field goal, success rate, as I mentioned, over 56%. Good across the board. What was that game plan? Well, they said, hey, Seattle, if you're going to stay back into deep coverage, as we know you do, as Mike McDonald tends to, and a lot of teams have confidence, meaning one, Cincinnati, in rushing us with 4, that's fine. That leaves the middle of the field open. So we're going to bulk up. Patriots ran 12 personnel most of their snaps of their first 3 drives, which tells you how they want to play the game. And again, it worked. It worked because Jacoby Brissett was extending plays like he did twice on the second drive, led to a touchdown, but also because Hunter Henry is an expert, a genius, a Mensa member at finding soft spots in the zone over the middle. They kept feeding Hunter Henry. Not only that, but Austin Hooper was on the field for a couple of passing downs, which to me was a little weird, especially in the red zone in place of Demario Douglas. But that was the plan. Get bigger, run the ball. It was mostly man block runs. So you saw some power, counter, duo. And this is the type of runs you want to work against a 2-high defense because, you know, whether you're pulling a guard from the right to left in power or left to right on counter, whatever the direction is, you know, that gives you a numbers advantage on the other side. Defenses that choose to play with a lighter box, 2 high safeties, again, middle of the field open, don't really get to play the numbers game. They're giving that up to say, we'll keep the numbers in the back end and we'll see what we can do up front. Patriots said, cool. Again, 10 points. The issue was the Seahawks changed. They went a little more single high. Not wholesale, but they definitely played a lot more man coverage. And that started in the second quarter when, over the next 4 drives, bringing into the fourth, playing more man coverage, loading the box, the Patriots' success rate went down to 23.5%. Less than half of what it was at the beginning. And part of this was not only just the Seahawks changes, it was that they seemed to have a tell, as Jacoby Brissett said, about any time that the Patriots didn't want to just run the ball or have Jacoby Brissett extend plays and get a little crazy in the pocket, and they wanted to take shots. Seattle knew it was coming. Jacoby Brissett, there was a tell. There must have been a good tell that they knew what was going on. And look, I might have missed something. I spent all day with the film. You don't get to all of it, especially little stuff and distributions and route concepts and formations, you know, that you can get really to the minutia. That's just automatic in the football facility. But if I had to guess about the tell, looking at what happened, I would say it was this. The times and places that Alex Van Pelt chose to call those plays, these deep play action shots we talked about over the spring and in the summer, this is what the offense is, were just too obvious. Patriots get to midfield on their second drive. Between the 40s, where a lot of teams like to take these deep play action shots. Why? Well, you have still half the field to go, so you got the room to do it. But also defenses are trying to keep you out of field goal range because if you get another 10, 20 yards, you're right there. It's a scoring chance suddenly. So they want to do anything to keep you out of those 10 to 20 yards. So you go over the top of them, you go deep. Alex Van Pelt, 1st and 10, they're at midfield. Seattle, as the Patriots call this deep play action shot, brings the house in a way that Seattle, before then Baltimore, didn't really do. They'll get creative with zone pressures and sim pressures and creepers and all this different stuff. But this was we are sending everybody. So Jacoby Brissett turns around, fakes the handoff, looks at the defense. Oh my God, everyone's in the backfield. And he extends a play, finds Hunter Henry. But that play call was out of what I would say the rest of the game script and the menu sheet that the Seahawks were working from. They knew it was coming, or they had a very, very good idea that was coming. The second one, early third quarter, Patriots get this 4th and 1 stop. Geno Smith goes to the QB sneak, met by Kyle Duggar, met by Anthony Jennings, Raekwon McMillan. Boom, big stop, huge play. Sudden change. That's what they call that. Defense to offense. Offensive coordinators love to call shot plays off of that to the folks who believe in momentum. You just ride the wave. So what do the Patriots do? In this space, this very popular space, just like midfield, sudden change, 1st and 10, dials it up again. And Seattle this time doesn't blitz. They go, we'll keep our safeties back 30 yards downfield to the point we still have 5 to 10 yards of cushion for your deep receivers coming at us. And Jacoby Brissett turns around, doesn't have anyone in his lap, but looks at those safeties and says, well, this is a fun idea, and scrambles for 5 yards. So the Patriots, when they did have protection, or when they had an idea, they had the time and space to call the shot play, Seattle was just all over it. Which to me, it was just there was an obvious situation, a time and place that Van Pelt wanted to do this, which we talked about in the open. I think he gets a little bit of a grace period. You would hope, though, that you start to mix in some of those shot plays at different times and different places because the Patriots need those to work. Rob Mayo said it today. We have to push the ball downfield. But I mentioned Seattle adjusting. More loaded boxes, more man covered. Success rate goes all the way down the hill. What changed in the end, or after that, I should say, was not the Patriots suddenly started going to the receivers, which their game plan looked like they just weren't going to do anyway because Devin Witherspoon, former top 5 pick, and Reek Woolen, the artist formerly known as Tariq Woolen, are really, really good and better corners than any of the Patriots receivers are receivers, is the Patriots change up the run game. So again, this was the man-blocked game plan, power, counter, duo, all that stuff, which works against too high cover. So when you load the box and you're pressuring the line of scrimmage a little bit more, that's when you go outside zone. That's what Alex Van Pelt did in the 4th quarter. We're going to go side to side and let Antonio Gibson and Ramondre Stevenson, who broke 3 tackles apiece, find a hole, hit it, and go. And it wasn't just that Alex Van Pelt called 4 outside zone plays in the first 5 snaps of their last touchdown drive. It was that he sprinkled in a little variation, pin and pull, which you would not have known this was outside zone just by looking at the movements because, again, the pulling lineman generally speaks to man block scheme. This was not that. You notice David Andrews and a guard or a tackle on either side of him going with him. And pin and pull, that's the pull. Andrews and a second lineman moving around in the direction of the play side. Whatever play side that is, the tight end and or tackle pins or hems the edge defender there, pins them on the inside. So the lineman pulling around can get to space. Running back follows them. There's the pin. There's the pull. This is outside zone, which is a little man wrinkle to it. So anyway, the reason I bring this up is because, A, that led to a touchdown drive. 4 of the first 5 plays on that drive were all outside zone and or pin or pull. The next series that led to a field goal, what we saw then was Antonio Gibson go for 45 yards. On what play? Pin and pull. So there's something to watch here and that there's an adjustment. A little too late for me when you look at how well Seattle was doing, pressuring the line of scrimmage, pressuring your receivers, playing man coverage above 50% of the time after the first quarter. But they got there. Now, the issue is when the Patriots had to pass, they had no shot. We talked about the protection. We talked about the receivers and man coverage. Their success rate when they go to 11 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end, is freaking abysmal. It's 31%. And yet, this is the most common personnel grouping they've used over 50% of the time against Cincinnati and Seattle. And so there needs to be a change. Just period, end of story. Either you change the receivers that get to take these snaps, or you pivot even harder to 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, or maybe mess around with 2 running backs. Because what the Patriots have shown you is, yeah, they've got a fastball, baby. This is a one-pitch pitcher who throws 102, and 102 is really scary coming at you. But if you get a hold of that, if you stop them on first and second down, you connect with this fastball, they've got nothing else. There's no changeup. There's no plan B. But when they keep throwing harder and harder, meaning when they add their personnel, they beef up 3 tight ends, an extra offense line, whatever, their success rate goes up with that. That can't be sustainable. The whole operation, frankly, does not feel particularly sustainable, just like you can't have a one-pitch pitcher in the major leagues, right? You need something to offset. And so to me, if you can't shore up the pass protection in short order, which I just don't think is going to happen, you don't have the personnel, you're playing Thursday night, it's not there. You need to alter the play calling. And so as much as Jacoby Brissett's savvy, which wasn't even avoiding the pass rush and sacks, it was hurting to the line, then snapping the ball, and then finding Jalen Polk in a window after moving the safety away with his eyes, that'll be there. But you need to find Demario Douglas. This is where I'll hammer down on the receivers. He is your best option against man coverage. He's your best option over the middle of the field. He's your best option after the catch. Get him the ball. It's inexcusable that they have not. So, screens, pick route combinations, any of your go-to concepts. And Van Pelt did try to get him downfield in a couple wheel routes that involve switch releases, which I think were to kind of confuse Seattle's match coverage rules, where it gets a little trickier when the receivers crisscross right at the line of scrimmage. Who's number 1? Who's number 2? Who am I following? But those plays took too long. So just like you get scheme touches for Stevenson and Gibson and Hunter Henry on the tight end screen for 35 yards, get the ball to Demario Douglas, and specifically in more quick game, because there's been a lot of running. It's been a lot of deep play action shots and some intermediate game, but not a lot of 3-step, boom, get the ball out. They need to do that. We talk a lot about the offensive line, but not specifically. To run down their stats, Vidarian Lowe, 4 pressures allowed again. He's hurt, might not even play against the Jets. Michael Jordan, only 1 pressure. It was a sack, but pretty good for a guy who got a full-time promotion today. David Andrews, clean sheet or slate, pick one. Callahan. There's no such, he didn't have a clean slate. But next to him, Layden Robinson had a dirty slate. 4 pressures allowed for him, and he's a rookie. He's a 4th-round rookie who's better run blocking than his pass protecting that's going to happen. The one player, though, that everyone's been highlighting since, as far as I can see on Pat's Twitter today, is Michael Onwenu. And Michael Onwenu's paid a lot of money. He's got to play better than this. I didn't think he played as bad as some folks did, and we're going to get to this in the mailbag. But I did have him down for 3 pressures. Can't have it. The one thing he did do very well, indisputably, was run block. Patriots averaged 6.4 yards per carry running behind Mike Onwenu, their best offensive lineman, including a couple times on weak side runs, which I tweeted this out in real time in the game. That's going to be their pet play, right? Everyone load up on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage, go over left. Defense has to honor that with numbers. We're just going to go behind our best guy who, if he controls the edge, we're off to the races. Stats monitor, Patriots, again, haven't blitzed 6 times in 2 games, and that's it. One of the highest pressure rates in the whole league. But from the look how far they've come department, Patriots have played back-to-back games without turnover for the first time since December 1st, 2022. So progress, I guess. Okay, time to talk some defense. But before we do that, if you have any interest in going to the Pats-Jets game Thursday night, or you want to go to any other NFL game, or you want to go to a comedy show, or you want to go to the theater, or you want to watch basketball or hockey or whatever else is coming up in your life, I would fully advise you, as I advised my uncle this week and cousins in New York I'm going to see for this game, go to Game Time, because you get 110% of the difference from them if you find a lower price ticket elsewhere, because Game Time has the lowest price guarantee. Not only that, they've got Game Time Picks, which filters out all the fluff and only gives you incredible deals on great seats to all of these events that you don't have to waste time searching for all those tickets. Just go to Game Time. Lowest price guarantee, seat view, all in pricing, everything. The things that you want, I want when I'm going to Fenway. Look at the seat, see what it looks like. If you like it, great. If not, pick another seat view. It's all right there at Game Time. So download the Game Time app today, create an account, and here it is, the best part. $20. Just use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. It's like you did laundry today and found the $20 bill in your pocket. Here it is. Terms do apply. Just create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Alrighty. Defense. So I talked about Alex Van Pelt, a little bland with the offense of game planning, a little conservative, a little safe. Demarcus Covington is not getting the same sort of criticism from me. He was a little all over the place. And you generally like the guy who comes out and says, you spin the dial, Mike McDonald? Yeah, we do too. Here's a cover 3 creeper. Here's a simulated pressure. There's a zone blitz, and it's all in the first drive. Here was the problem. The Seahawks knew the Patriots were going to get back to inevitably their all-out max pressures, which are not always just like man-to-man, everyone else rush. Sometimes it's like you saw in the DK Metcalf touchdown. Let's hang back at the line to gain. The quarterback, look for this short throw. It's a hybrid man zone kind of concept. And the Seahawks knew it was coming. And against the blitz, I'll say this again. Geno Smith was 10 of 12 for 171 yards, a touchdown, 1 sack, and a scramble. Worse yet, there was an incompletion, and we'll get to the Bill Belichick designed blocking scheme that bailed the Seahawks out on that Metcalf touchdown to play in the fourth quarter. But the Patriots blitz rate at 27% was much lower. This was not the plan going in. The Seahawks just knew in critical moments they're going to get back to it, and they were ready. And as you just heard, got punished. The Seahawks had a 69%, a very nice 69% success rate against the blitz. The Patriots allowed 13.2 yards per play allowed when they rushed 5 or more. So why do I say they waited him out? Well, DeMarcus Covington runs all that stuff in the opening drive. They want to get creative. They want to run soft zone behind it. The Patriots only ran man-to-man coverage 30% of the time. And Christian Gonzalez was shadowing DK Metcalf, but it wasn't in a way that, DK felt him. It was more like Christian is my parole officer. Like, I'm very mindful of him, but if I want to do something and he's not around, I could probably get away with it. And he's not around a whole lot. So this was not someone locking him down. Obviously, the stats showed you that. But when the Patriots did try to press the issue, this is where I say DeMarcus Covington did a little bit too much. 3rd and 7, 48-yard line. The Patriots have a couple plays left in the half. Seattle's got the ball. Seattle's not in field goal range. Instead of saying, hey, we'll keep everything in front as long as you don't get 10 yards, A, you don't get a first down, B, you're not in field goal range, we're fine. DeMarcus Covington dials up this zone blitz that leaves the middle open. Noah Fant gets 14 yards, first down, field goal range. Seahawks get 3 points before the half. Then you have another 3rd and 7 after halftime. Okay. This was a big, giant zone blitz again that sent Keon White and Joshua Uche flying backwards 20 yards downfield, where Geno Smith delivers a 24-yard dime for a completion and another first down. They didn't score at the end of that drive. It wasn't a backbreaking play. But you get the point of the Patriots trying to press a little bit too much. Like, here's what we're doing to get pressure on you. We're going to set the terms. We're going to spin the dial, do all this different stuff. Geno Smith didn't care. He said, I'll throw to my guys. I know where this is going to come from. And you can do all this extra stuff, but it's not going to lead to anything because we've got the horses. You don't. And whether the Patriots chose not to play man coverage because they agreed with him or they just thought this zone approach was a better plan, it didn't work. And by the time they did get around to playing man or the all-out blitz, here's how that blocking scheme worked. All-out blitz pressure. The essence of it is, hey, we've got 11 guys on defense. You have 10 on offense around your quarterback. When he snaps the ball and holds it, we can cover all of your receivers one-on-one, even if there's 5. Then we have 6 players left over to rush at you. And because you have 5 receivers and a quarterback, that leaves 5 offensive linemen to block 6 rushers. We're going to get a +1. Well, what the Seahawks did is the same thing that Bill Belichick did, according to Dominique Foxworth, ESPN, for the Pats' lost divisional round game, their 3-peat bid in January 2006. So that's for the 05 season. Denver had a huge cover 0 all-out blitz package. So the Patriots entering that game said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a receiver declare, go outside the formation, right? I'm going to be a receiver here, which told Denver how many players were going to be blocking and how many players they needed to blitz. Except at the snap, the receiver went in motion and then blocked an edge defender who was intentionally left alone by the offensive line. So what this did was the receiver, who's covered by someone on the defense, right, goes and blocks to give a +1 up front, while his defender is no longer blitzing or covering anyone because he's covering someone who's blocking. He's in no man's land. That's evened up the 10 versus 11. With that defender in no man's land, it's really 10 on 10, which means you can block all of the blitzers so long as this guy does not rush, though he usually does after a second or two, and then find a receiver one-on-one who doesn't necessarily have to be within 5 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. You can go deep, have longer developing routes. The Patriots didn't win that game, as we know, but the Steelers used that same scheme, that design of the receiver going and motioning, serving as a blocker, stalling his defender in coverage for a moment or two to erase that numbers advantage. And even if he did add to the rush, it's a second or two late. Brady or then Ben Roethlisberger had the time to develop and attack downfield. And he did. Well, Geno Smith did the same thing. This was on the Metcalf touchdown, which was a breakdown in coverage. But this was a wrinkle. I remember watching the film here today and said, this is too good. The point is, Seattle had answers for the blitz. That was 2nd and 5 at midfield, but they knew, based on the Patriots' certain looks, when they were going to go to this max pressure or all out pressure, which again, they did in overtime for their last 2 first down plays. The first one was a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. Zach Charbonnet going into the flat opposite this max pressure. Geno Smith backs away, flips to him, he runs for a first down. The other one was a moving pocket throw. The Patriots, again, all out blitz. In some of the situation, like you just have to go force the issue. You already punted to start overtime. A field goal beats you. You need to get them out of field goal range. But the Seahawks knew it was coming, and they knew it in between both the Metcalf touchdown in the first quarter and those plays in overtime. Because again, 10 of 12, 171, and a touchdown, 1 sack. Geno Smith was freaking brilliant. And the Patriots could never press them off, get them off schedule. That's what happened here when you're dropping Keon White and Joshua Uche into coverage and sending Marcus Jones and nickel blitz a bunch of different times. They couldn't do it. Okay. And they ran out of options, and that's how it looked. I mentioned Gonzalez. He gave up 4 catches to Metcalf. Didn't see him a ton of man-to-man. It's just, this is why I wanted to wait. Can I see a 5th game before I call him an all-pro number 1 corner? Potential's in there. Don't get me wrong. But this is not a game that he's pointing to and be like, I shut down DK Metcalf. No, you didn't. You didn't even get the chance to do that. Speaking of man-to-man, Geno Smith was 8 of 12 for 101 yards and a sack plus 2 drops, which are brutal numbers for a defense that prides itself in playing one-on-one. Up front, one-on-one, Keon White had 4 pressures. He was the only guy on the defensive line to have more than 1. Raekwon McMillan had 2 hurries. They were both on blitzes. You're going to hear a lot more about him with Juwan Bentley, who I think is a major blow. He's getting the play calls in from the sideline. He's making the checks. He's the first one into the hole. Experienced guy. I'm watching their first couple run plays or plays of run defense, and he just triggers so fast. Like, what is he seeing that I'm not? Which is not to say that I see everything that Juwan Bentley does. It's just to go, like, if he's wrong, he's really wrong. He didn't care. But up front, again, is the issue. The Patriots don't have to reach into their big bag of pressure tricks. If Keon White and Dietrich Wise and Joshua Uche are getting pressure, they can just rush forward. They tried to, and it didn't work. Again, just a 27% blitz rate, which is really closer to 20 before halftime, but they couldn't do it. Down the middle of the defense, this is going to be a real test for them moving forward. Devon Gotchow and Daniel Akwale, a defensive tackle, combined to play almost 100 snaps. It's a lot. They're asking them to play all 3 downs. Guys that are not used to that. Even Gotcha, who's been a starter for multiple years. In the middle, Jelani Tavai at 99%. It's probably going to go to 100 now with Bentley out. Duggar and Peppers are at 100%. And outside, it's time to bench Marco Wilson, man. Like, he was in a rotation with Jonathan Jones. You notice it because he again had a defensive pass interference penalty and gave up a 16-yard catch. I think it's Alex Austin time. This is really in the weeds now. Speaking of Jonathan Jones, no, it was not defensive pass interference. That sucks. Calls go against you. But it is a loser mentality, okay, when, oh, the ref took the game from us. No. You could have stopped them after the fact. You could have made stops earlier in the game, not to even be there in the first place. This was not a good defensive game for the Patriots. Geno Smith had almost a career day with his 327 passing yards, which would have been more, okay, were not for a couple of good tackles, which you didn't see from Marcus Jones because he missed 3. So that's about it for defense. Special teams, Austin Hooper blew it on the overload that led to the block field goal that forced the Patriots to, defend a field where Seattle only needed a field goal, not a touchdown at the very end, obviously forced it to overtime. But who is the player? Who is the group as we pivot now to we need to talk in light of game balls? It's the offensive line. That's just what it is. It's untenable. You can't have pressure rates of 44, 45%. You can't have your quarterback saving your ass time and again, escaping all this pressure, not getting sacked, and have the best thing he do, save a bad situation, because it's just not going to be sustainable. There needs to be a fix here, and it can't be Caden Wallace for the rest of the season at left tackle. You need to make some sort of Godfather offer or find someone on the street. I don't even know who's on the street anymore. We always talk about David Bakhtiari. Do you think anyone wants to jump into this team fresh off the street just yet? I don't know. But here's the thing. This is why I and plenty of other media members were like, you need a tackle. You need somebody else. They don't. What would NFL film say? Then we'll get to the mailbag. We'll get you out of here. Okay, so it starts in this fictitious documentary of the Patriots 2024 season. Every game you're watching at the end of the year, what does this game look like? I say they start at the top of the lighthouse because who's up there as the keeper, absorber, watcher, whatever of the light, lighter of the light? Malcolm Butler, right? This was A plus organizational trolling. He's ringing in the bell. 2014 Super Bowl team comes out at halftime on a duck boat. Vibes are high. Things are good. Patriots get an early lead. Then, of course, you got to show the Metcalf touchdown. Back and forth we go. 17-13 Seattle at the half. Then it goes straight to the fourth quarter because we didn't have any points. Ramondre Stevenson, boom, touchdown behind the jumbo package. Gillette roars. Maybe even get a reference to Drive Mayo on WEI saying, hey, we're going to run the ball. You got to stop it. Looks great. Here comes Antonio Gibson. Boom, 45-yard run down the sideline. Field goal attempt. But wait. Oh, it's blocked. Oh, and Seattle's going. Oh, they're kicking their own field goal. Oh, they tied the game. Okay, overtime. Well, you can still win this. No, we got stopped again. And then Seattle goes down. Penalty flag, oh no. They kick a field goal. Everything's quiet. Well, you can't win them all. And it's on to the Jets because they always spend a little bit more time in the divisional games. That, to me, is what NFL films would say. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions in the mailbag. Let's start with John. John Zanis, president of the company that produces, that does everything with this podcast except for what I'm doing right now, jumps in because he's a good teammate and says if sitting Drake May, John also just might believe this, and he might not being a teammate, he might just be a frustrated fan like you. John says if sitting Drake May before he's ready and under less than ideal circumstances is obviously the right thing to do, is playing Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix wrong. Look, my first thing would be there are degrees here, right? The Patriots' offensive line sucks. All of their offensive lines suck a little less, but their fans are probably saying the similar things about their pass protection. Let's be clear again, draw the line, run blocking versus pass protection. There's a point at which, within these degrees, you have to say, okay, this is where I would stop. To me, the Patriots are on the wrong side of that line, where I would not start a rookie quarterback. I'm at the point I would consider Joe Milton before Drake May, throwing him into this mess. Where, again, 45% of the time, you're off schedule. You're off platform. You're doing things you don't want to because you just can't do your own job in the pocket and throw the football. That's where we're at right now. Caleb Williams at least has a receiving core. That was a bad offensive line. We certainly watched it if you watched Sunday Night Football. But whether it's him or Jaden Daniels, guys who played a lot more college football than Drake May, this is not an instance where all the situations are made differently. The organizational expectations are made differently. Their experience, it's not to say that Drake May won't be as good or isn't as good right now. But to me, your goals are to build him up to be the future of the franchise. If he goes in, he gets torn down. And I don't care what the rest of the league or those situations look like. And I think that's a fair way to look at it. Same way if you were raising kids, I would say. It might be in the same class, right? But you have different expectations based on their ability level or whatever else is going on in their lives that are not going on in other kids. So at some point, the comparison is just not worth it. I don't even have kids. So that should be, I think that made sense. Theora, great question here. Will the amount of pressure that's getting to Brissett eventually start to affect his game the way it did Mac Jones? Or does the fact that he's a veteran mean that he should be able to manage it without getting sped up? Like I was there, slowing down now. How about that, Theora? Again, great question, because I think about this like Mac Jones. Week 1 and week 2 survived a ton of pressure. Close games, difference, obviously, the Patriots win the first one this year. Didn't win either of them last year. You go play the Jets. It's going to be a physical game, however it goes. And then there's an additive effect here with the pressure. Couple big differences, obviously. Brissett, I think, is mentally tougher. I think he was when he entered the league. He's also more durable. He's a bigger dude who's taking a lot more hits. He's also someone that I think knew what he was stepping into, whereas Mac Jones was very comfortable, liked what the offense was going. Then everything fell apart, and he had a lot more pressure on him. We talk about expectations, and just couldn't take it anymore. That's not going to happen to Brissett as fast, if it does, as it did to Mac Jones. But that doesn't mean the Patriots shouldn't do everything in their power to fix this offensive line situation, which might not be a whole lot. We're in the thick of it now, okay? The games have begun. So Brissett can manage this better, but there's no guarantee that he won't break because pressure breaks everything. It breaks everyone, and especially at the rate the Patriots are allowing it right now. Corey, quote, getting to the X's and O's. Is it too early to give May some RPO packages to sprinkle into games to give defenses a new look and get his feet wet? Or is it better just to wait until he's actually the starter? So the RPO shine, I think, is rightfully worn off a lot the last couple of years because defenses in the NFL, same as they have in college, have found solutions. Some of it's man coverage, sometimes it's the structure and alignment of the safeties, certain different keys, whatever. I don't think there's a real benefit, especially when the first letter of the RPO, as you know, is for run. Teams might just invite him to hand the ball off, depending on whatever the situation is. Or if he's throwing, it'll probably just be a slant because offensive linemen can't really go downfield. If he's holding on to the ball longer, then he's at risk. There's no big benefit to an RPO package. Like you might as well just be saying, why not do a bootleg package? Eventually, there's a little bit of a tip off here, right? So I think the 30% snaps in practice are legitimately valuable. I think that's the right way to handle it. Build him up, give him experience against a good defense, right? And not have any kind of threat from physical harm or just building bad habits. And if he does have bad habits, you fix it. It's practice is what it's for. But the idea of an RPO package, it's not, like a wildcat package if you had a running back, to me would be more effective for this offense. And even that has maximum tell of, oh, there's a running back who's going to take the snap. I wonder what they're going to do. Right. But there's no such upside because you can hit single wing off balance lines and make big gains running the football. But there's nothing really there with the RPO package. If you're going to run that, just run it with Brissett. Mike D, should the Pats move Mike on one of the left tackle and insert Wallace at right tackle? No, but obviously a lot of changes should be on the table. The difference is Mike Onwenu's never played left tackle. And the team's actually shot this down internally, from what I understand. So, and not in a big proclamation way, but they're not considering it because they've made up their minds. It's just not going to happen. So, especially after this game, where some folks are being like, "Oh, could you put him back to right tackle? Can you put someone else at right tackle, put him back at right guard, and put him at right tackle?" He's never played there. He played left guard in 2021, then got benched, and for the rest of the season, pretty much. Keep him at right guard or right tackle. I would keep him at right tackle. It took too long to get him there in the first place. You just got to ride out these games. And Caden Wallace, I said weeks ago, should have been stuck at left tackle and developed there. Full stop. Hasn't happened. What are you going to do? 3 more. Lawrence, does the West Coast offense use a slot receiver more or less than other offenses? So I understand what you're going for here, grouping the Patriots offense in with a West Coast offense. What I would say is that when we talk about a West Coast offense, it's really not the whole system. It's just the passing game, meaning you're using certain concepts, you're using certain timing, the way that you teach it. The quarterback's feet are tied with his eyes, and that, okay, by the time you get to 3 steps, you're looking here. When you get to 5 steps, that means the receiver's at a certain point downfield. Those basic principles and then schemes are West Coast. The run game could be anything else. You could pair, for example, the Rams are an 11 personnel team. They will never, ever, ever have a fullback with Sean McVay. You would still call that a West Coast pass offense. The Niners, Kyle Shanahan, are always going to have a fullback. But the run game looks very different. It's a 2-back running game, but still some West Coast principles in the passing game. They came from the same coaching tree and then split off into their own branches, which is to say the personnel decisions are really more predicated on what's available to you and then your own coaching preference. Because again, you just gave you 2 different examples of West Coast offense, quote unquote, which really, again, only refers to a passing game that do very different things on the ground and then by extension with their personnel. So I think this is a personal preference of Van Pelt and in Cleveland. They use a lot of 2 tight ends. It's a bigger offense. So it's not that they don't use the slot receiver a whole lot. It's also that receiving group, again, 31% success rate when they went to 3 receivers. Not good enough. It's bad. It's very, very bad. It should be better. There are ways that it could be better, but it's not because he's a West Coast guy that they just don't like slot receivers. It's just how their team's constructed right now and how he's chosen to run the offense. Sox Nation, would this offense be a little better if Jacoby was able to decide where he starts his progression? Specifically, it seems the progression is pre-planned instead of finding the best matchup pre-snap. So it is not lost on Jacoby Brissett if Jalen Polk's across from no one, I would say, or Demario Douglas is on a linebacker. He can make an audible. He can make a check. He could go from a run to a pass or a pass to run, whatever it is. But the read progressions are a 1, 2, 3 within this system. It is not like we used to see in the old New England system, a man coverage concept on one side and a zone one on the other, right? And that was the Earhart Perkins. You get two different concepts. That was the play call merged together. This is very much 15, 16 words, and it's all going to be layered and tied together and make sense. And you can go 1, 2, 3. Now, he can skip a read if, for example, there's a blitz and he goes, okay, my first read's a post. I'm not even going to get enough time to throw that or look at it. Let me skip to 3. So there is I would say, room for not improv, but like human application here, right? Like you're not always abiding by the rules when you're driving or doing whatever your job is. Sometimes you're doing the thing that makes the most sense in that situation. And he's doing the same thing. But this system works. When it doesn't work, it won't be because he went 1 to 2 to 3 and should have just gone to 3. You need to make that progression for a reason. They spent a lot of time designing this, and that's just how they do things, even if it's different from the last offense and the offense before that, before that, before that. Getting out on this, Jordan. The key plays that cost the Pats yesterday were the 56-yard touchdown to DK Metcalf, the sack on 3rd and 6, and the blocked field goal. Do you blame the play call / decision or execution on each? I love and hate the word execution when it comes to, well, specifically in answers from players and coaches who I get why they're saying that. They believe it. It's also to say, okay, Callahan, why wasn't your podcast so good? Well, I just didn't speak well enough. Yeah, duh. Like all of life is execution. Now, there is a line to be drawn between, let's call it the play call, as you just said, the play call or the execution. The play call by Kyle Duggar, who checked to that blitz, which, let's be clear, whether the coaches did or the players did, Seattle knew it was coming because that's what the Patriots are about. The Patriots players and coaches. It was a bad play call. And it was even worse execution. So it was 2nd and 5. Those sit on the fence, all out blitz, max coverage plays, to me, should be from better depth, right? 3rd and 8 or longer. So I can really wait and read what the receivers are doing. And if he's just going upfield as Metcalf did, I've got time to get going and run with him. So to me, it was both. The 3rd and 6 sack execution, you got to throw the ball. I think you do. And Layden Robinson got beat. Michael Onwenu got beat. It was not pretty. They got beat a lot. We've talked about it. The block field goal, that was execution again. I think if you're Austin Hooper, you got to commit to one guy, right? Like you can't let both of them go by. And Julian Love was the inside guy. He's the one who got the block. And if Austin Hooper had committed to Julian Love, it's not to say that, I remember the Seahawk who came off the edge next to him wouldn't have gotten there too, but it's a similar principle with, blitzing. It's usually an inside out read, right? Because the guy who's blitzing straight ahead in the A or B gap is going to get to your quarterback faster if you're a running back in blitz pickup than the guy coming off the edge. So at least count on that extra time and space to do you a favor and take the inside guy. He didn't take either. I don't know the specifics of field goal blocks to assess and talk about how to handle an overload, but it was pretty evident when most of the guys are on that side what they're going to try to do, and then they did it. So that's it. All right, we have gone long. Thank you for hanging out. Patriots are playing Thursday night. Before that, we will have a new episode Wednesday night, I think at the very latest. James White coming to hang out because he wouldn't at Cincinnati. We would have had him. But that man was celebrating his win as a member of the Northern Illinois coaching staff over Notre Dame. Sorry for all the Notre Dame Golden Domers out there, but it happened, and James White's very happy, and that makes me happy. So we'll be back, Pats Jets preview. I will say this, and I'll remind you in the next episode, that will be it. No episode Friday, nothing over the weekend. We will be back Monday or Tuesday after that. But until then, thank you again. And Wednesday night, James White coming to you for Pats Jets.